Well, it's a pleasure to introduce Nanci Weissgold, who's a partner at the law firm of K&L Gates here in Washington, and who's also an author of a particularly important volume in MBA's Compliance Essentials series. Just briefly, Compliance Essentials is meant to give MBA members building blocks to build their compliance management systems. I wondered, Nanci, if you could talk us through the key pieces of this important building block, your volume, and tell us a little bit about how it's useful to MBA members.
Sure. Thanks, Ken. And I want to first thank you for inviting me and my law firm K&L Gates to write the book, because it was a lot of fun. What we tried to do is to operationalize these national mortgage servicing standards and really make it more useful for servicers who have to comply with the rules. So the book provides first useful background information, and then it takes each of the 9 rules that make up the national servicing standards, 3 under TILA and 6 under RESPA, and tries to operationalize them by providing a policy for each rule. So, for example, there's a policy on periodic statement requirements under TILA, and it sets forth each of the requirements, and it also, we've updated that to reflect the CFPB's amendments on the interplay with these rules along with other federal laws, such as bankruptcy laws and the FDCPA.
So the policy is really a way that a company can pull that piece out and use that policy to base their own policy on.
That's right. As you said, the CFPB has clearly provided that it is so important for servicers to have a robust compliance management system. Part of that system is having policies and procedures. So what we tried to do is to come up with policies and procedures, because the CFPB is going to enforce these rules. But in addition to that, for 4 of the 6 RESPA rules, there's also the potential for civil liability for failing to comply with them. These rules are really game changers in the servicing industry.
Tell me about the checklist that you have.
Sure. So the last and final part of the book is that for each of the rules, the 9 rules, plus we also added one on transfer of servicing, as the CFPB says that's a focus as well, provides basically a check for servicers to make sure that each of the requirements in the rules are being followed. These are very procedural-driven requirements, and they have a lot of gotchas for not complying with the specific requirements. So we have very detailed checklists that somebody can go through and basically takes the procedures and puts them into bite-sized pieces to double-check to make sure that they're doing it correctly.
Nanci, what do you think of these books as training guides?
I think it's a fabulous training guide. I think it's a great tool for servicers, for sub-servicers, for investors. Due diligence companies may also find them useful. And I think for training people, they're invaluable.
Nanci, so do we.
Oh.
Thank you very, very much for your participation in Compliance Essentials.
Thank you.